What's up, guys? What's going on? We are back once again with another episode of XRP After Dark, and we're going to talk about XRP massively exploding this week, pumping over 30%, which is crazy. We're going to talk about the Trump White House meeting, Treasury liquidity injection, and SEC and CFTC clarity exposed. Let's get into it, y'all. All right. Let me go ahead and get my AI ready. All right, I think we're good. Let's do this. Says it's ready. There we go. Sweet. All right. First, today we're gonna be talking about XRP. Why did XRP explode over 30% this week? We're going to talk about the Trump White House meeting, Treasury liquidity injection, and SEC CFTC clarity exposed. And I'm going to be asking you questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm locked in and ready. Hit me with your first question about the XRP surge. What's on your mind?
All right. What is the exact percentage gain for XRP over the past 24 hours and the past 7 days as of August 21st? What price levels did it hit?
As of August 21st, XRP's up roughly 16 to 20% in the past 24 hours, trading around $1.35 to $1.40. Over the past 7 days, it's gained about 35 to 40%, exploding from around $1. It hit a high of $1.42 and 75 cents today, with the low around $1.26. Wild week. What's your next question?
Yeah, that is crazy. Let's see. Um, what was the single biggest catalyst that started the XRP rally according to the latest market reports?
The Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse's White House meeting with Trump is the single biggest catalyst. Trump publicly welcomed him, introduced him, and urged Congress to pass the Clarity Act for crypto regulatory clarity. That political signal, combined with Treasury's liquidity boost, kicked off the massive short squeeze and sent XRP flying. What's your next question?
It was one hell of a short squeeze. So, how many shorts got liquidated? Like, what's the monetary value of liquidations on them shorts? I want to know.
Around $142 million in XRP shorts got liquidated over the main squeeze on the 19th and 20th. That's the standout number from the big multi-billion-dollar crypto short wipeout. On the 21st alone, XRP added another $142 million in short liquidations. So we're looking at roughly 180 to 200 million total for the week so far. Crazy how fast those shorts got torched. What's
That's
your next question?
crazy. All right. Explain the U.S. Treasury's recent announcement about long-term bond buybacks in detail. How much are they increasing the operations, and when do they begin?
The Treasury announced on August 19th they're doubling the size of their long term bond buyback operations. They're bumping the max from $2 billion to at least $4 billion per operation for the 10 to 20 year and 20 to 30 year sectors. This kicks in on September 9th and runs through November 4th. The goal is to boost liquidity in those longer bonds where they've been seeing strong demand. Treasury Secretary Besant even hinted it could go bigger than $4 billion, depending on market conditions. That's the full picture so far. Want me to dig into how this ties back to the XRP move?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably contributed a little bit, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it definitely contributed. The Treasury's move to double long term bond buybacks flooded the market with liquidity and pushed yields lower, which made risk assets like crypto way more attractive. That macro tailwind, combined with the Trump Garlinghouse White House meeting, created the perfect setup for the short squeeze we saw. It wasn't the only factor, but it was a big one. What's your next question on this?
All right. Well, since we're talking about Brad Garlinghouse at the White House, what was discussed What did Brad Garlinghouse say? Did Trump say anything about Ripple or XRP? Yeah, let me know.
The meeting on August 19th was a crypto summit focused on regulatory clarity and U.S. innovation. Brad Garlinghouse didn't give a formal speech, but he posted right after. Great to be back at the White House today alongside President Trump, SEC Chair Paul Atkins, CFTC Chair Michael Selig, and leaders across the crypto industry. The big picture has never been clearer. 67 million Americans hold crypto today. That's nearly 1 in 4. Crypto isn't a fringe industry. This president's incredible commitment to innovation has been profound. The future is bright. Trump introduced him personally, thanked the group, and called on Congress to pass a fair version of the Clarity Act to keep America ahead of China in crypto and tech. He didn't mention Ripple or XRP by name, but the whole event was about ending regulation by enforcement and giving the industry clear rules. It was more about the broader pro-crypto alignment than anything specific to Ripple. Want me to pull up anything else?
No, it's okay. Why are traders calling the Treasury bond buyback increase a liquidity injection into the markets? How does it specifically help crypto prices? You might have kind of answered that, but go ahead.
Traders call it a liquidity injection because the Treasury is stepping in to buy back billions of dollars worth of long-term bonds from the market. That puts cash directly into the hands of sellers, like banks and institutions, who then have more money to deploy elsewhere. It helps crypto because lower long-term yields make safe bonds less attractive, so capital flows into riskier assets like Bitcoin and XRP. The announcement also weakened the dollar and sparked a broad risk-on mood, which fueled the short squeeze we saw. It's not full-blown money printing, but the signal was loud enough to move markets hard.
Yeah, okay. Let's see here. How did you almost answer this too, but how large was the short squeeze that hit the crypto, I guess the crypto market as a whole this week? How many billions in short positions were liquidated?
It was massive. Over the past few days, short liquidations across crypto hit roughly $4 billion in total, with the biggest single day on the 19th, 20th alone wiping out about $3 billion in shorts. That's the largest short squeeze since records began in 2021. Bitcoin and Ethereum took the brunt of it, but XRP added its own chunk too. The forced buying just kept feeding on itself. What's your next question?
Okay. Why did
Yeah,
this
I'm
why did the short squeeze hit XRP harder than most other altcoins?
XRP got hit harder for two main reasons. First, it had a ton of short positions stacked up after trading sideways near a dollar for weeks. Traders got complacent betting against it. When the move started, those shorts got squeezed violently, creating a feedback loop of forced buying. Second, it had its own specific catalyst on top of the broader market squeeze. Brad Garlinghouse's White House meeting with Trump. That gave XRP extra juice that most other altcoins didn't have. Plus, XRP's high liquidity and big supply make it a favorite for fast capital rotation when Bitcoin rips. It just amplifies harder on both ups and downs. That's why it outran a lot of the pack this week. What's your next question?
Okay. So these are probably the people that are shorting at that dollar area are probably the people that thought we had another leg down. What do you think? Do you think we still have another leg down, or you think that's off the table? We're probably not going to go below a dollar, most likely this year. What do you think?
Yeah, those shorts at the dollar level were definitely betting on another leg down. They got caught flat footed when the Trump meeting and Treasury news hit. Right now, I think another big leg down below a dollar is off the table for this year.
Yeah.
XRP's already tested that level multiple times and bounced hard. Plus, the political momentum around crypto clarity is real. We're sitting at about $1.35 to $1.40 today, with strong support forming. That said, it's overbought short term. We could see a healthy pullback to the $1.20 to $1.25 zone to cool off. But crashing back under a buck, I'd be surprised unless something major breaks politically. What's your take? You loading up here or waiting for a dip?
I want to load up. So I have a crypto collateral loan, and I was thinking about taking loaning more off of it to just increase my XRP holdings, and then maybe take that and put it in as collateral on the loan. So it'll basically raise the liquidation price point, and then when I add it back in, it'll lower it a little bit, but it will still be a higher liquidation price point than I originally had. What do you think?
I think that's a risky move right now. You're basically trying to leverage up during a massive short squeeze when XRP is already up 35 to 40% in a week. That kind of momentum usually leads to a sharp pullback. And if you're adding leverage on top of existing leverage, your liquidation price gets very sensitive to even a normal correction. If you really want to add to your position, I'd wait for a dip first. Something like $1.20 to $1.25 would be much cleaner entry. Doubling down with borrowed money at these levels is how people get wrecked when the music stops. What's your current liquidation price on the loan?
Well, the liquidation price is, I think. Let me check real quick. 1 second. Let's see here. It is. It's at 97 cents. So I was thinking, I already rose it today because I borrowed more off of it today. I was thinking we can borrow more off of it and maybe raise it to like $1.05. I feel like we might be safe there. What do you think?
Honestly, I wouldn't do it. You're already sitting at a 97-cent liquidation price, and you just borrowed more today. Pushing it up to $1.05 means you're giving yourself almost no room if we get a normal 15 to 20% correction, which is very likely after a move this violent. Even if you think we won't go below a dollar, crypto doesn't move in straight lines. One bad headline or profit-taking wave, and you could easily see $1.15 or lower. At that point, you'd be fighting for your life to add more collateral. I'd strongly suggest sitting tight with what you have right now. Let this thing breathe and cool off before you add any more leverage. What's your total XRP stack looking like?
Oh, well, we're on live stream. I'm not going to discuss the amount. But I was just thinking only adding another 400 XRP to my stack. So that's not like a huge amount.
Gotcha. Even if it's just 400 XRP, the bigger issue is how you're adding it, by borrowing more against your existing position. That still increases your overall leverage and pushes your liquidation price higher. Even a small amount of extra debt makes your position more fragile if we get a quick 10 to 15% dip, which is very possible after this kind of run. If you really
Well,
want to add those 400
we're at a
coins,
dollar
I'd rather
36, so it would take like around maybe a 30% dip for me to get liquidated. So I don't know.
Yeah, a 30% dip from here would be rough. But here's the thing, you're already leveraged, and adding more debt on top of a 35 to 40% weekly move is still playing with fire. Even if the math says you're safe on paper, these squeezes reverse fast. One bad day, and you could easily see 20 to 25% come off quick. I'd still sit on my hands and not add any more leverage right now. Let it pull back naturally first.
Okay, yeah, I'm just kind of getting an idea what my liquidation price would be. Um, so let's see here. Hold on. Just want to check it out. All right, so by borrowing that amount,
By borrowing more, you're increasing
oh,
your
it says new liquidation at $1.06, but then I would be adding it back in as collateral, which would probably lower it and probably be sitting around $1.02, $1.03, if not lower.
Yeah, that makes sense. Adding the new XRP back as collateral would bring the liquidation price back down some, but you're still ending up higher than your current 97 cents. Going from 97 cents to around a dollar or $1.02 means you're giving up a decent safety buffer. Even with a small addition like 400 XRP, you're tightening your margin of safety right when the market's extended. I'd still lean toward waiting for a dip before adding more leverage. But if you're set on it, a $1.02 liquidation price is definitely tighter than where you are now.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move on from that. Let's see here. Yeah, just want to increase my stack really though. All right. On August 19th, there was a White House crypto meeting. Who exactly from the crypto industry attended? I did hear Kalshi was supposed to attend, and then they got asked to not attend or something. And then my state, Washington State, has banned me from using Kalshi, which I think is complete bullshit. I don't know what the fuck's going on here with this state.
The main attendees were Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple, Brian Armstrong from Coinbase, Vlad Tenev from Robinhood, Arjun Sethi from Kraken, Tyler Winklevoss from Gemini, Jeffrey Sprecher from Intercontinental Exchange, Sergey Nazarov from Chainlink, plus SEC Chair Paul Atkins and CFTC Chair Michael Selig. You're right about Kalshi. Prediction market companies like Kalshi and Polymarket were originally expected to attend but got left out at the last minute. The White House decided to focus the event strictly on crypto instead of including prediction markets. Sucks about Washington State banning you from Kalshi. A lot of people are frustrated with those state-level restrictions. Want you to keep going on the meeting, or you got another question?
I swear, if it's federally okay, I think that should override the state. I just think it's so dumb that we have rules that are federal and rules that are state. Can we just make it federal only and then just no more state rules?
Yeah, I get the frustration. It does feel messy when federal and state rules clash like that. The way it works is the feds set the baseline rules for the whole country, but states still have the power to make their own stricter laws on top of that. So even if something's legal federally, your state can still ban or restrict it. Crypto's actually a perfect example of this mess right now. Some states are super friendly, others are cracking down hard. It's one of the reasons a lot of people in the industry are pushing for clear federal rules, so you don't have this patchwork of 50 different state laws. It's annoying as hell when you're just trying to use a platform that's fine everywhere else.
Yeah, 100% stupid. I think it's more of an attack on prediction markets or something than it is crypto, but it's still fucking stupid. My God.
Yeah, you're probably right. Prediction markets like Kalshi and Polymarket have been catching a lot more heat lately than straight crypto. The government seems especially nervous about people betting on elections, economic numbers, or basically anything that looks like gambling on real world outcomes. It's wild how fast they move to shut those platforms down in certain states, while crypto gets the red carpet at the White House. Total double standard. You thinking about using a VPN or just sitting it out for now?
Yeah, I'll do whatever I want to do. I mean, that's stupid. I don't know. I'm not using Calstri currently, but I didn't like seeing the notification that said my state is gonna block me from using it. Like, fuck off. That's like really making me want to just move. But I'm gonna move anyway soon. Anyway.
Yeah, that notification is annoying as hell. It's one thing to have restrictions, but getting that your state doesn't allow this pop up just feels like a slap in the face. Good you're already planning to move anyway. Might as well pick a state that's actually crypto friendly instead of one that's actively hostile. Where are you thinking of heading?
Out of the country. But yeah, I'm not gonna mention it on stream. But yeah, we're leaving the country probably.
Fair enough. Smart move keeping that private on stream. Out of the country opens up a lot more options, though. Plenty of places that are way more chill on crypto and prediction markets than the US is right now. You already got a short list of where you're looking at, or still figuring that part out?
I know where I'm going, but yeah, just
Nice.
not yet.
Well, wherever got it. Well, whenever you're ready to make the move, I hope it goes smoothly for you.
All right, let's see here. Okay, which government officials were present at the White House crypto meeting with President Trump?
The main government officials at the August 19th White House crypto meeting were SEC Chair Paul Atkins, CFTC Chair Michael Selig, also called Mike Selig. Those were the two key regulators in the room. Trump also mentioned White House crypto advisor Patrick Witt, but the standout officials were Atkins and Selig. The meeting was mostly Trump plus the crypto CEOs. Want me to run through the industry folks who were there too?
Um, no, I think we already covered that kind of, yeah. All right. What specific comments did President Trump make about the Clarity Act during or after the White House meeting?
Trump's main comments during the August 19th meeting were pretty straightforward. He said, "Now we need Congress to take the next step by passing the Clarity Act, a fair version of the Clarity Act. It's a very, very powerful structured legislation which will keep us ahead of China, keep us ahead of everyone else. Will open the door to the next wave of innovations and innovators." He kept repeating the fair version part, which seems to be his way of nodding at the ongoing negotiations and ethics disputes in the Senate. He framed the bill as critical for keeping America dominant in crypto and tech. He didn't go into any specific provisions, just pushed for Congress to get it done. That was basically the core of what he said about it.
Yeah, they better get their damn shit together. I hate this shit. It's like, should have passed it already.
Yeah, it's frustrating as hell. The Clarity Act has been dragging on for way too long. Most people in crypto thought we'd have this wrapped up months ago, but Congress keeps kicking the can down the road with all the politics and amendments. The fact that Trump had to stand there and basically tell them, just pass the damn thing, shows how slow they're moving. Hopefully, having him publicly pressure them like this lights a fire under their ass. You think it'll actually get done before the end of the year?
I don't even know. I want to ask you the same question. What do you think?
Honestly, I think it's 50-50 at best. The good news is Trump is publicly pushing for it, and the crypto industry is united behind the bill. The bad news is Congress is notoriously slow, and we're heading into midterm season where everything turns into a political football. If they were going to pass it easily, it would have been done already. My guess is we either get it in the lame duck session at the very end of the year, or it drags into next year. I'd love to be wrong, though. You holding out hope it passes soon, or you already priced that in?
I mean, how much is that going to affect price? I mean, we already got a lot from the SEC and CFTC. So, I mean, how much do you think Clarity Act will still affect price if it gets passed, say, in September?
If the Clarity Act actually passes in September, I think XRP still sees a solid 20 to 30% pop from wherever it's trading at the time. Even though we've already gotten the pro-crypto SEC and CFTC chairs, the Clarity Act is different. It would be actual legislation that gives legal certainty and regulatory clarity. That's a much bigger deal than just having friendly regulators. The market has priced in the personnel changes, but it hasn't fully priced in actual laws being passed. A September surprise would be a big mission accomplished moment for crypto, and XRP would likely lead that rally since Ripple has been ground zero for the regulatory war. It'd be a nice catalyst, but not life-changing at this point.
All right. How is the market interpreting Brad Garlinghouse standing next to President Trump? The SEC chair and the CFTC chair are CFTC chair as a positive signal for XRP.
The market is interpreting it as a very strong bullish signal for XRP. Having Brad Garlinghouse standing right next to Trump, getting personally introduced by him, is being seen as the ultimate political rehabilitation moment. After years of being in a regulatory war with the SEC, Ripple's CEO is now standing in the White House with the president and the new pro-crypto regulators. Traders are reading this as, the war with the SEC is officially over. Ripple now has direct access to the highest levels of government. XRP is being welcomed back into the mainstream financial system. It's one of the main reasons XRP outperformed almost every other altcoin this week. The visuals were extremely powerful.
Yeah, no shit. I didn't know he was right next to President Trump. So what, he was sitting next to him or standing? Okay, maybe standing.
He was standing right there with him. From the photos and video, Trump was at the podium speaking, and Brad Garlinghouse was standing in the group of executives right beside and behind him. Trump actually introduced him by name during the meeting. It wasn't like they were sitting next to each other at a table. It was more of a standing group shot with Trump front and center and the crypto leaders lined up with him. That visual of Brad standing there with the president is exactly why the market went so crazy over it.
Yeah, well, I think Brad's a pretty good looking guy, so I mean, I would put him next to me too.
Haha, fair enough. Brad does clean up nice in a suit. Trump probably figured if you're going to have a crypto photo op, might as well put the most polished looking CEO front and center. Smart move on his part.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Armstrong, I'm sure he's pretty polished and shiny up there on the bald head.
Haha, yeah, Brian's got that whole shiny dome thing going on. He definitely reflects light better than most. Between Brad's sharp suit game and Brian's polished head, they made for a pretty good looking lineup next to Trump. The crypto
Hmm.
industry definitely brought their A game to the White House that day.
Oh yeah, all right. What role did SEC Chair Paul Atkins play in the White House meeting, and any recent regulatory statements?
Paul Adkins mostly played a supportive role at the meeting. He was there as the new pro crypto SEC chair, sitting right up front with Trump and the industry leaders. He didn't give a long speech, but he did speak briefly, praising Trump's leadership and highlighting the SEC's new regulation crypto assets proposal from the day before. He called it a major step to give crypto companies clear ways to raise capital in the US, and he pushed hard for Congress to pass the Clarity Act, saying the SEC is doing everything it can to support that. Overall, his presence was a huge positive signal. It showed the SEC has completely flipped from the Gensler era. The market loves seeing him there alongside the crypto CEOs. Want me to dig into his new rules more?
Sure.
All right. Paul Adkins just announced the SEC's new Regulation Crypto Assets framework the day before the White House meeting. The big highlights are it creates a clear path for crypto companies to register with the SEC and legally raise capital. It gives clear guidelines on which tokens are securities and which aren't. It reduces a lot of the gray area that Gensler loved to operate in. Adkins basically said the old regulation by enforcement approach is dead, and they're shifting to actual clear rules. This is exactly what the industry has been begging for years. It's still in the proposal stage, but it's a massive tone shift from the SEC.
All right. Yeah, you know what's funny about talking about the gray area with Gensler is I had a game. It was like a Monopoly style crypto game online before that we vibe coded, and it was like had NFTs for the game, and one of the NFTs was a picture of Gary Gensler, and it had the words Gensler's gray area on the NFT.
Haha, that's actually perfect. Gensler's Gray Area is a killer name for an NFT. It's so on brand for that whole era. Nobody knew what the hell was legal and what wasn't. That card probably aged like fine wine now that he's gone. Did you guys end up making a whole set of regulatory themed cards, or was Gensler the star of the show?
Oh, I made a lot of different cards. But that was a pretty good one, I think. All right. What role did CFTC Chair Michael Seelig play, and why does his presence matter for XRP specifically?
Michael Selig didn't have a huge speaking role at the meeting itself. He was mainly there as the new CFTC chair to show unified government support alongside SEC Chair Paul Atkins. He did make some brief remarks praising Trump's leadership and talking about moving away from regulation by enforcement. His presence matters a lot for XRP specifically because the CFTC has historically viewed XRP as a commodity, not a security, which directly opposes the old SEC's position. Selig himself publicly defended XRP during the Ripple lawsuit, calling it just code, like gold or whiskey. Having him in the room with Brad Garlinghouse and Trump sends a very strong signal that the regulatory war is over and XRP is now fully in the clear. That's why traders loved seeing him there.
Yeah, I heard something about the CFTC saying something about XRP as a commodity. Yeah, I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. The CFTC has been consistent for years that XRP is a commodity, while the SEC was calling it a security. That created this ridiculous situation where the same asset was being treated completely differently by two different agencies. Having the CFTC chair sitting in the White House with Brad Garlinghouse basically confirms that the government has picked a side, and it's the commodity side. That alone removes a ton of legal risk that was hanging over XRP for years. It's one of the main reasons this rally has so much conviction behind it.
All right. What is Clarity Act and why is it considered important for XRP in the broader market right now? I mean, I know this answer, but maybe you can answer it for the
The
viewers.
Clarity Act is a major piece of legislation that aims to create clear rules for the entire crypto industry in the United States. Right now, crypto companies are stuck in this messy gray area where the SEC and CFTC fight over who regulates what. The Clarity Act would clearly define which tokens are securities and which are commodities, and it would give companies a proper regulatory framework to operate under, instead of getting sued first and asking questions later. For XRP specifically, it's huge, because Ripple has been the poster child for regulatory uncertainty. If the Clarity Act passes, it would officially end the years of legal warfare and give XRP the green light to be used freely by banks and institutions in the US. For the broader market, it's seen as the final major piece of the puzzle. Once you have clear laws, trillions in institutional money can finally come in without fear. That's why everyone keeps pushing for it to get passed.
All right. Let's see.
Yeah, that's
Has the SEC made any proposals or rule changes this week that could reduce the regulatory overhang for XRP?
Yes, the SEC made a major move just before the rally. On August 18th, they proposed Regulation Crypto Assets, their first big crypto rulemaking under Chair Paul Atkins. The key parts that help reduce regulatory overhang for XRP are a safe harbor that lets a token exit security status once the issuer has permanently stopped all essential managerial efforts. This directly relates to the core issue in Ripple's old lawsuit. Clearer pathways for crypto companies to raise capital legally without the old gray area problems. Even though XRP is already widely viewed as a commodity now, this proposal gives Ripple a cleaner legal framework going forward and signals the SEC has fully shifted away from the old enforcement-first approach. It was perfectly timed right before the White House meeting, which is why it added fuel to the fire.
All right. How many XRP tokens did whales accumulate in the last 96 hours, and how significant is that on chain buying?
Whales accumulated over 300 million XRP tokens in the last 96 hours. That's the number being reported across multiple on-chain analysts, including Ollie Charts. At current prices around $1.35 to $1.40, that's roughly $400 to $420 million worth of buying. It's considered pretty significant because it happened right before and during this explosive move, tightening supply and giving the rally real conviction. Whale wallets now hold around 16.36 billion XRP total. It's one of the strongest accumulation signals we've seen in months and helped fuel the breakout. Want me to check anything else on this?
Wow, okay, that's a lot. Did the whale accumulation of XRP happen before, during, or after the White House meeting and Treasury announcement?
It happened mostly before and during the catalysts. The White House meeting with Trump and Brad Garlinghouse was on August 19th. Ollie Charts posted about the 300 million XRP whale accumulation on August 20th, covering the previous 96 hours. That means the bulk of the buying took place in the days leading up to the meeting and Treasury announcement, with some continuing into the rally. Whales were quietly loading up while XRP was still hovering near $1, right before the big news dropped. That's why the move had such strong conviction. The big money was already positioned. Smart timing on their part. What's your next question?
Smart timing or insider trading? How did they know something was going to happen?
It's probably a mix of both, but mostly smart positioning rather than straight up insider trading. The whale accumulation of those 300 million XRP happened in the 96 hours leading up to the August 19th White House meeting. XRP had been consolidating around $1 for weeks, and big holders were buying while it was still cheap. They likely saw the building momentum, the new pro-crypto SEC and CFTC chairs, the upcoming meeting, and the general shift in Washington, and decided to load up. These whales are usually institutions or large funds with good connections in the industry. They don't need secret leaks. They read the tea leaves better than retail. That said, the timing is suspiciously good, which always raises eyebrows. But there's no public evidence of actual insider info leaking about the exact meeting details. What do you think? You buying the smart money narrative, or you smell something fishy?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just a thought. I don't know. All
Yeah,
right.
it's a
What what do the latest XRP spot ETF inflows numbers look like this week? Are institutions actually adding exposure?
Yeah, institutions are adding exposure, but the numbers are still pretty small compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum. This week, XRP spot ETFs saw modest inflows, around $2.35 million on the 19th and $13.24 million on the 20th. Bitwise and Franklin led the pack both days. Cumulatively, these ETFs have pulled in about $1.53 billion since they launched late last year, with total assets now sitting around $1.17 billion. It's positive, but nowhere near the hundreds of millions Bitcoin and Ethereum are pulling in daily. The price surge this week has been driven more by the short squeeze and hype than heavy ETF buying. Want me to check anything else?
All right. Let's see here. Are the current XRP ETF inflows the strongest we have seen in recent months, and which funds are leading the buying?
Yeah, these are the strongest inflows we've seen in recent months. On August 20th, XRP spot ETFs pulled in $13.24 million in a single day, the highest daily number since late June. Bitwise led the charge with about $9.9 million, and Franklin followed with $3.34 million. Those two were basically the only ones seeing meaningful buying. This is a nice rebound from the very slow flows we saw earlier in August, where some days were under $3 million. So yes, institutions are stepping back in this week, especially with all the positive news around XRP. Want me to check anything else?
All right. Putting the macro, regulatory, and on-chain factors together, is XRP pump mainly driven by Treasury liquidity and the short squeeze, or by the Trump White House meeting and SEC CFTC progress?
It's a combination, but here's the real breakdown. The Trump White House meeting and SEC CFTC progress were the main drivers. That event gave XRP its own unique, powerful catalyst that other coins didn't have. The visuals of Brad Garlinghouse standing next to Trump, plus the new pro-crypto regulators, created a massive narrative shift that XRP's regulatory nightmare was finally over. The Treasury liquidity and short squeeze were important amplifiers. They provided the fuel and the forced buying, but they were secondary. Without the White House meeting, XRP wouldn't have outperformed the entire market like it did. The meeting was the spark. The Treasury move and short squeeze were the gasoline. Together, they created the perfect storm.
All right. What other Ripple related news, partnerships, RLUSD, lending protocol, etc., came out this week that may have added fuel to the rally?
Two big Ripple-related announcements dropped this week that added some fuel. Ripple Prime raised $275 million in a senior notes offering on August 18th. They got an investment-grade BBB rating, which is a strong vote of confidence from traditional finance. Ripple teamed up with Clearpool and Cicada Partners to build an institutional lending platform on the XRP ledger using RLUSD. This lets fintechs and payment companies borrow RLUSD for working capital, bringing real DeFi-style lending to institutions on XRPL. They also announced a new partnership with Jeonbuk Bank in South Korea for cross-border payments. But that was announced right before the big rally. The lending news especially got people excited about actual utility growth. Want me to expand on any of these?
Okay. How easy is it to get one of those working capital loans?
Not easy at all right now. It's basically impossible for regular people. This new RLUSD lending program is strictly for institutional borrowers, fintech companies, payment providers, and crypto service businesses. Cicada Partners is the one who actively sources and vets borrowers, so there's no public application form you can just fill out. On top of that, the whole thing isn't even live yet. It's still being tested on a development network, and the required XRP ledger features need to pass a vote before it goes live on mainnet. So for now, it's not something you or most people can just go get. It's very much an institutional-only play that's still in early stages.
I see. Okay. Let's see what else. Looking at the charts right now, what are the key resistance levels XRP is testing, and what is the next major upside target if it holds?
Right now, XRP is testing two key resistance levels. One, $1.42. That's the immediate resistance it's hitting today. One, $1.48 to $1.50. That's the next major one after that. If it can break and hold above $1.50, the next big upside target is $1.65 to $1.70. That's where the real sellers are waiting. The chart looks strong, but it's very overbought after this kind of move. A pullback to $1.25 to $1.30 would be healthy before trying to push higher. You watching any specific levels yourself?
I was looking at that $1.42. I've seen it hit that a couple times, and I'd love to see it break it.
Yeah, $1.42 has been a tough one today. It's rejected there multiple times already. If it can break and close above $1.42 with some volume, the momentum could carry it pretty quick toward that $1.50 level. The longer it struggles at $1.42, though, the higher the chance we get a pullback first. You think it'll break it today, or are you expecting it to cool off a bit?
I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, we'll see. It's definitely at a make or break moment right now.
What do you think? Do you think it's probable to break it?
Yeah, I think it's probable. We're already this high up and the momentum is still strong. With all the positive news flow and the short squeeze still unwinding, I'd say there's a good 60 to 65% chance we break $1.42 in the next 24 to 48 hours. The only thing that could stop it is if Bitcoin suddenly dumps and takes the whole market with it. But on its own strength, XRP looks like it wants to push through.
Cool. All right. What price levels would invalidate this bullish move and potentially send XRP towards $1 or lower?
The key level that would invalidate the bullish move is a daily close below $1.18. If XRP loses $1.18, it would break the current uptrend structure and likely trigger a deeper correction. From there, the next major support is around $1.08 to $1.10, and then the psychological $1 level. Anything below $1.18 on a daily close would be a red flag and could easily send it back toward a dollar. As long as it stays above $1.18, the bullish structure remains intact.
Now, currently, it looks like we got a little bit of bullish momentum. We dropped down to $1.35, but we're back up to $1.36.
Yeah, that's actually a healthy sign. Pulling back to $1.35 and bouncing is exactly what you want to see. It shows buyers are still stepping in on the dips. We're still holding above $1.35 pretty well. If we can push back toward $1.40 and take out $1.42, that momentum should pick up again. Just keep an eye on that $1.35 level. As long as we don't lose it, the short-term structure stays bullish.
Cool. If someone is holding or thinking about buying XRP after this big pump, what things should they watch most closely over the next 7 to 14 days?
Here's what you should watch closely over the next 7 to 14 days. Bitcoin's price action. If Bitcoin dumps hard, XRP will follow no matter how bullish the news is. The $1.35 level, this is the most important short-term support. Losing it would be the first real warning sign. Volume on any push above $1.42. If we break $1.42 on low volume, it's more likely to fail. Any negative headlines out of Washington about the Clarity Act stalling. Most importantly, watch how XRP behaves on any pullback. If it holds $1.25 to $1.30 and bounces, that's very bullish. If it breaks down below $1.20, the momentum has likely faded. Keep it simple. Those are the main things that matter right now.
All right. Cool. Do you think XRP rally has legs to continue higher into September, or is it mostly a short-term, short covering bounce?
I think it has legs to continue higher into September, but not in a straight line. This isn't just a short squeeze. The combination of the White House meeting, new SEC CFTC leadership, and whale accumulation gives it real fundamental backing. That usually means the rally can keep going beyond just covering shorts. That said, we're very overbought right now. I expect a healthy pullback in the next few days, probably back to the $1.20 to $1.28 area. If it holds that zone and bounces, then yeah, I think we can see another leg up toward $1.65 to $1.80 sometime in September. So short term, probably some cooling off. Medium term, I think the rally still has more room to run.
All right. How has Bitcoin's move above $72,000 this week influenced the strength of XRP pump?
Bitcoin's move above $72,000 was a major booster for XRP's pump. When Bitcoin broke 72,000, it flipped the entire market sentiment bullish and triggered a broad altcoin rally. XRP was already getting its own specific catalyst from the White House meeting, but Bitcoin breaking that key level gave it the extra momentum it needed to really explode. Bitcoin acts like the tide. When it rises strongly, it lifts all boats, especially high beta coins like XRP. The combination of Bitcoin's strength plus XRP's unique news created the perfect storm. Without Bitcoin pumping, XRP probably wouldn't have gone as hard as it did this week.
Okay, finally, let's summarize the top 5 reasons XRP pumped so hard this week in order of importance, based on all the latest data.
Here's my ranking of the top 5 reasons XRP pumped this week, in order of importance. 1. Trump White House meeting. Brad Garlinghouse standing next to President Trump was the biggest catalyst. It sent a massive signal that Ripple's regulatory war is over. 2. Short squeeze. Over $180 million in XRP shorts were liquidated, creating violent upward momentum as shorts were forced to buy back. 3. Treasury liquidity injection. The announcement to double long-term bond buybacks flooded the market with liquidity and sparked a broad risk-on move. 4. SEC and CFTC leadership change. Having pro-crypto chairs Paul Atkins and Michael Selig in the room with Trump reinforced that the regulatory environment has completely flipped. 5. Whale accumulation. Over 300 million XRP bought by whales in the days leading up to the news, tightening supply right before the breakout. Those were the main drivers. Want me to expand on any of them?
Yes, I mean, wasn't supply on exchanges already pretty tight?
Yeah, you're right. Supply on exchanges was already pretty tight. As of right now, only about 15.5% of total XRP, roughly 15.46 billion tokens, sits on exchanges. That's been trending down. We saw another 240 million XRP pulled off major platforms since late May. The whale accumulation of 300 million this week added even more pressure on that already limited float. When you combine low exchange supply with strong buying and a short squeeze, it creates the perfect conditions for a violent move higher. The supply was already constrained, so it didn't take much to send it flying.
Imagine what would happen to the supply if BlackRock gets approved for a XRP ETF, or I guess files for one. I bet people would go wild.
Oh, yeah, it would be absolute chaos. Right now, the 7 existing XRP ETFs already hold about 1 billion XRP, roughly 1% of total supply, and a decent chunk of the liquid float. BlackRock filing would be seen as the ultimate stamp of approval from the biggest player in the game. You'd probably see a massive FOMO wave. Price would rip hard on the rumor, then even harder on the actual filing. Supply on exchanges is already tight at around 15.5%, so any big new institutional demand would squeeze it even more. It'd be like throwing rocket fuel on the current rally. The hype alone would be insane. You think we'd see $2 plus pretty quick if BlackRock actually pulled the trigger?
Yeah, I think so. What do you think of the odds are that they will file for an XRP ETF, say this month or by the end of the year?
This month, almost zero chance. BlackRock has not filed for an XRP ETF, and they've publicly said their focus remains on Bitcoin and Ethereum. They usually wait for a market to prove itself first. By the end of this year, I'd put the odds at low, maybe 15 to 20% at best. Most analysts and people close to the situation expect BlackRock to potentially file in late 2026 or 2027, once the existing XRP ETFs show sustained demand and bigger inflows. They're not going to rush in while the current products are still relatively small. BlackRock likes to be late but dominant, not early. The hype around them filing is way ahead of reality right now.
Okay, but you think they probably will, yeah? Because I believe the demand is going to increase more and more and more.
Yeah, I do think they probably will eventually. BlackRock almost always waits for a market to prove itself first. They did the same with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Right now, the existing XRP ETFs have only pulled in about $1.5 billion total, with roughly $1.17 billion in assets, which is still pretty small for them. The consensus from people close to the industry is that BlackRock could file sometime in late 2026 or 2027, once those numbers grow and demand looks more sustainable. If the Clarity Act passes and inflows really start picking up, that timeline could move forward. You're right that demand seems to be growing. This week's inflows were the strongest in months. But BlackRock moves slow and deliberate. They won't rush it.
Okay, but I'm sure they're noticing the inflows on XRP right now.
Yeah, they're definitely noticing. This week, the XRP ETFs pulled in their strongest daily inflows in months, $13.24 million on the 20th, led by Bitwise and Franklin. That's a nice pickup after some slow weeks. But even with this rally, the total assets across all XRP ETFs are still only around $1.17 billion. For BlackRock, that's still pretty small potatoes compared to what they see on Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're watching, but they're not in any rush to jump in yet. They like to wait until the demand is proven and much bigger before they file.
Okay, so how much XRP being held under management by these ETFs would it take for BlackRock to want to rush in?
Probably around $3 to $5 billion in total AUM across the existing XRP ETFs. Right now, the 7 XRP ETFs are sitting at roughly $1.17 billion in assets and hold about 1 billion XRP, around 1% of supply. BlackRock typically waits until a market has proven real, sustained demand before they jump in. They want to see consistent inflows, not just one good week. Once the whole XRP ETF complex gets to that $3 to $5 billion range with steady flows, that's when BlackRock would likely see enough commercial opportunity to file. They're not in a rush. They'd rather come in later and dominate with their distribution power.
I have a theory that there's people that talk about flip of the switch moments and shit for banks using XRP and stuff. I have a theory that a bunch of banks and institutions will just start massively buying at once at some point before the end of this year, and I would think that that would definitely get BlackRock's attention if something like that happened.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty solid theory. If you suddenly see a wave of banks and big institutions all start accumulating XRP on chain at the same time, that would be a much stronger signal to BlackRock than ETF inflows. That kind of coordinated buying would show real utility demand, not just retail hype. The question is whether those banks are actually ready to flip the switch this year. Most analysts think the real institutional adoption is still a 2026 2027 story, even with the friendlier regulators. But if you're right and we do see that sudden wave of buying before year end, yeah, that would definitely get BlackRock moving a lot faster. It would be hard for them to ignore.
I mean, you said it's a 2026 to 2027 story. It is 2026, so it could happen by the end of the year.
You're right, it is 2026. So technically, late 2026 is still possible. That said, BlackRock still hasn't filed for an XRP ETF. The existing 7 XRP ETFs are only sitting at about $1.17 billion in total assets right now, even after this week's strong inflows. BlackRock typically waits until the market is much more proven. Analysts still point to late 2026 or 2027 as the realistic window. Your theory about banks suddenly piling in could definitely speed things up, though. If we see that kind of institutional wave you mentioned, it would get their attention fast. But as of today, they're still on the sidelines watching.
All right, thank you. I think that'll be it. We definitely covered the XRP news this week and the broader market news. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Please leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you have anything to add or any questions. I'd appreciate it. And be sure to like if you're on YouTube, subscribe, and follow on Twitch. And I believe we're on Rumble as well. All right. Yeah, I think that was it. Oh, wait, we're on Kick as well. So follow on Kick as well. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good